Good evening, one and all. How are we doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. How we doing, Teach?
I am tired.
I bet you are. They ain't running you ragged down there, not a.
I didn't hear you.
I said, they're not running you ragged down there now, are they?
Sorry about that.
Today they are.
Actually, yeah, my internet actually cut me off and all that stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition to another time of hashtag Feed the Black. I am your host, Donna Ella Martin Morris. Sorry for my end. Everything's acting crazy over here. They just don't want to hear me out. So today, I'm gonna let y'all know I'm on one. I'm on one to the point where I'm not even gonna do an opening statement. So
Oh,
I'm
let's
gonna
get to
let
it then.
I'm gonna let Teach go ahead and start us off because even today, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you my dates since we own it. So basically, I got a spy in the office right now who decided to say that, oh well, Moore's not coming into work on time and he's leaving early. So you know what I decided to do? I decided to be Mr. Petty because we got a board on the side of our office, which tells us like, are we in or are we gone or all that stuff. So I put
Mm-hmm.
Moore's is in, and I put on the bottom I spy. So if whoever's looking at the board, I'm gonna start being petty just like that. So I'm on one. Definitely what I've been going through on Facebook. Woo! Huh.
Oh, I can teach
Enough
you
of
some
that.
tricks. I can teach you some tricks now. Hey, hey, how petty are we trying to get here?
We petty. But let's go ahead and get into it. Teach, go ahead and lead us and
We gonna
start.
we gonna talk afterwards.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful day. Today is one of those days where they worked me like a Hebrew slave. And Danielle, you're talking about being petty. Well, I guess I'm going to follow suit and I'm going to be petty too. Today, my supervisor called me. Mind you, I'm used to working on my own. And for some reason or another, I have it in my mind that I am perfect and everything that I do is perfect. So therefore, there's no reason to correct me. So anyway, my supervisor called to correct me. And he's about 25 years younger than me. And I just took that senior citizen card and said, basically, I see you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And I responded, did you see my notes? I put everything in my notes. Had you read my notes, young man, you would not have had to call me because you would have seen what you're asking me about. So I'm petty. I'm a senior citizen petty. And I think that's a whole different degree of pettiness. So I'm tired. I can barely move. I'm so tired. And so um so that's it. I'm petty too. And that's my opening statement.
Oh, I thought there was no opening statement. Look, some years ago, about 70 years ago, in Zimbabwe, then known as Rhodesia, the colonialists removed black people from the native, from the land, and then installed and divided land to white farmers. After the independence, Robert Mugabe, our great comrade, decided to reverse the injustice and then removed all the land from the white farmers and returned them to the our people. But the government of the Zimbabwe was not wise enough to empower the people to work the land. The Western nation sanctioned Zimbabwe, especially when Zimbabwe opposed the LGBT policies that the Western nation wanted to impose. There was a revolution that removed Comrade Mugabe. Now that he's died, yesterday I read that the new government of Zimbabwe have removed all the natives from that land and returned it back to the former whites, who now are employing those native women to work in a farm for them. I was very sad. That is the black man for you. Is it really worth the pen fighting for black people? I begin to doubt it. That's my opening statement.
Good evening. Since we on the petty train, call me Dale Earnhardt Petty. I want to speak about the power in pettiness and how it can be applied in a justified manner. First off, a little bit of backstory. My father's side of the family is Scottish. Y'all know that type of pettiness. Drunken fight you to the death pettiness. My mother's side is Irish. That's that drunken I'll fight you to the death and beyond the fucking grave pettiness and spite. Combine those two and you've got the wonderful person we call Bees Johnson. So when I speak of pettiness, I speak of my former employment. I speak of the supervisor that feigned and just chose to outright lie to my face as if I don't know no better. And chronologically speaking, I got you by 10 years. Experience-wise, I got you by 10 years. As far as being a man, I got you by your whole fucking life. But I digress on that. So instead of you just being honest and upfront and respectful about my work ethic and my work schedule situation, you choose to be petty. So I, in turn, show you what happens when I'm not at work. I show you what happens when I don't do the positions that you think I should do. And how that lack in production and lack in efficiency has an overall negative effect on you. Then I establish a high level of morale and camaraderie, centralized and anchored by myself within the individuals, not just the hourlies. We're talking part-time supervision and full-time supervision as well. To the point to where my name is known throughout the entire building. And it is actually a joy when I come to work, considering that I spend most of the day singing random songs and seeing how racist and vulgar I can verbally get throughout the day while still keeping a job. That was my life at UPS. Anyone that's watching this work with me will tell you yes. So as they continue with their pettiness, I find myself another job. I establish that other job. I start that other job so early that I am unfortunately not afforded the 2-week notice. I can still go about this the right way, but once again, we're talking about pettiness here today. So what do I do for pettiness? I start the new job Monday. I go into the old job Sunday. I work 48 minutes. I clock out. I give everyone their last greeting. And I sing as beautifully as I can. Now, so long, farewell, Avidas and goodbye. I'm going to go home and you stupid high. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Yeah, that particular supervisor that we spoke of, he was not happy. Nor was he happy when he found out that less than 24 hours later, two other employees who were part of the morale system that I set up also found other employment and left, while three others are in the process as we speak. The power of pettiness, people. You want to fuck with my money? I'll fuck with your money. Opening statement. Let's get this show on the.
And Suna, greetings everyone. My opening statement, my understanding is that tonight we're going to talk about slavery. Apparently, there are people who, when the issue of slavery in America comes up, they respond by saying that white people were enslaved too, and Black people sold their own kind into slavery. People who respond with that are like children who get caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And when confronted, the little boy points to his brother and says, but he did it too. See, people that respond like that are not mature. They believe that by deflecting the conversation and talking about what someone else did is the way that you handle that situation. Mature people take responsibility. And so whenever somebody tries to divert from the conversation of what was it that the white people in America, what did they do? And how are they going to take responsibility for what they did? That's the issue. And we should not get diverted by these other arguments that say, oh, well, Blacks sold their own kind into slavery, and white people were slaves. Yes, all of that is true. But when the conversation is about what the people in this country did and taking responsibility for what they did, we have to stay on target. That's my opening statement.
Like I told you, I'm not even gonna start with the opening statement because I'm on one right now.
So what's good?
I'm gonna go ahead and put the hint right here. Hey, Mr. O, we've been in a little Facebook back to back, and I really want to talk about a post that I really found very, 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 very offensive. And that was about, I'm gonna start off with this post. All the other posts that I taught you about, that's the typical me and you, difference of views. But two posts. The first one is about Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama, I'm just gonna let me bring it in. Before Michelle Obama, two first ladies stuck out to me. Two. One is Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the wife of Franklin D. Roosevelt, which also a history fact turned out to be his cousin, but that's a different story. And then Jackie Kennedy. So let me start on Jackie Kennedy. Jackie Kennedy was the most attractive first lady in American history. And only thing she did was produce a big ass family and look good. And then later we found out that she was very racist too, that she didn't think of us Black people as being too far. So she's out the way. Eleanor Roosevelt. Why I say Eleanor Roosevelt? You remember that group called the Tuskegee Airmen? You remember that group? They the ones that went up in there and they changed the course of World War II. like we've been doing in all sorts of wars here. She was the one that pushed her husband to be like, let these black people fight. She took that picture up in that freaking plane with one of the Tuskegee Airmen. She, other than Jackie, she is the one that exhilarated what a first lady should be. Michelle Obama, just like her husband, was scrutinized during this whole entire campaign of his 8 years. Yes, there are things that I disagree that he has done, but that should not go on her. She was actually pushing to help out kids, free lunches, exercise. She did what First Lady is supposed to do. And one of the people, I don't know if you know him, which I actually looked up on his Facebook, he's actually from Lakewood, who said that she looked like a man. And you and you put an emoji of laugh, and I was like, oh my gosh, like really? Like, oh my goodness. So, but then here's my thing. This first lady we got, well, stop it, Morris. This administration's female in charge, what has she done? Do your best. A campaign over social media bullying and nothing else.
She went to Africa and got her groove on. She had her younger boys lined up.
Okay, she was down there long before this presidency.
So to put her as saying that she's grace and all that stuff and saying that Michelle Obama was full of hate, I want to know what made you think, or anybody to make you think that she was full of hate? What did she do? Unfortunately for I'm not even gonna mention her name. Unfortunately for the current lady in charge, it looked like she's trapped. Like every meme of her rolling her eyes, swiping her hand away. That's not a woman of class. That's a woman that wants to leave and get out. Yeah. But unfortunately, she can't because she's stuck. So I don't know. And then seeing cartoons of her, Melania, in the nice way and all that stuff, and seeing Michelle Obama look almost like a muscular bound man. That is highly disrespectful. Now, let me go into the other post that I'm actually talking to your friend right now that lives south of El Salvador, who don't understand how America works and what is going on right now. For him to say, make America great, he probably never spent a day in a black neighborhood, or at least live in a freaking black, came to America only just to visit. And for him to sit there and say, I'm stupid, and call me out my name. By the way, I did call him a dumbass, and I exposed him for being the racist that he is. My question is this. You said in the comment, you said back to me that it's the Democrats' fault. You solely blame it on the Republicans, but you solely blame the Democrats. So, Mr. O, when I made this show on Black Tokenism, it is an issue where you got black folks that really make it out of this freaking, out of their condition, make it big, become an athlete. I'm gonna use Herschel Walker, for example. Unfortunately, he used to play for my team, the Dallas Cowboys, but thank goodness Jerry Jones had the smart way of bringing him to the Minnesota Vikings, and 3 Super Bowls later, and he sit there and he said all that damn mess. What have you done for the black community? What? You saying that the Democrat Party is actually doing this? Let's be clear. Let's be for real. Republicans ain't making the situation no better because he pretended that it's not fucking happening. I have criticized, and I want people to call me out if I never mention or criticize the Democrat Party on this show. I have criticized them as equally as I did the Republicans, but I keep bashing Republicans as much because they keep saying it's Democrats, it's Democrats. They are doing it. Now one of them has sat down with anybody from Black Lives Matter movement or sit down with Zeepway's family and be like, how can we fix this? Those Republicans are sticking to the status quo. There's a thing called the Southern strategy. That's why the South says so dumb and stupid. No offense to my Southern brothers and sisters out there. But I'm keeping it real. The reason why the Democrats would never ever win the South again, because you remember Lyndon Johnson, yes, he was a racist. Yes, he was a Dixiecrat. He said, if I sign this civil rights bill, the South would never vote for the Democrats ever again. And damn it, was he right? So my question is this. I have never called your friend out of his name. Never. And I understand what you're saying. We got a difference of, opinions. I understand that. But if this not only just goes for Mr. O, this goes for anybody who's watching the show when people sit there and say, where's my opinion? Well, your opinion is becoming dangerous. That's why America is in the situation that it's in right now, because it's my opinion, my opinion. They're not thinking about the impressionable minds out there that's going to listen to this crap. And I'm not only just talking about the right, I'm also talking about the left when they don't know their facts or information, but majority of it is coming from the right. When people sit there and they say things and they don't do their proper research, somebody's going to listen to it. That's why that kid that came from that happened in Wisconsin. I can't pronounce the place, Seepway. I apologize. In Kenosha. That's where those people come from, because they listen to shit from people that don't have no source of anything, and they go do that bullshit. But for some reason, it's the liberals' fault. It's the left's fault. But nobody don't want to sit back and analyze the situation for what it is. But then the same bro sit there and say, well, it's everybody's problem. It's Congress. It's both sides of the aisle. No, it's not both sides of the aisle. It's not. It's like what Seepway said at the start of the show about the slaves. People just want to sit there and like, oh, my hand's a cookie jar, but Reese Johnson, he had his hand in the cookie jar earlier. Why you ain't getting on him? It's this famous poking the bear with the stick, and then all of a sudden that bear gets mad. You throw it away at the person that had absolutely nothing to do with it. Period. I understand we got a difference of views, but let's be real. Let's be for real. Your friend had never even, and I'm not even trying to make it about your friend, but that's the point. If I had any of my friends called you out your name, this not only go for you, Mr. O, but go for Seepway and B Sharp that called you out your name, I will call them out and be like, ho, we're here to have a discussion. We're here to have a discussion as grown men. Grown men, we're gonna have a difference in our views, but don't call him out his name. Period. And I understand that you love Fox News, and I'm rambling. I'm gonna get myself. I'm gonna bring it back. Go ahead, Michelle. I shut up. I even cut my mic.
Oh, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I will not hit you. The Salvadorian is not my friend. He appeared on my page. On my page, there are a lot of people on my page. Moreover, you have not read what I hit at him, including his country. I have made him to know how racist his own country are against black people. You just saw him. I have been hitting him hard. I just left him on my page because I want to hear the other story too. But when it comes to matter of racism, I've hit him hard many times, because I know the discrimination against black people in Central America. So it's not my friend. It's just appeared on my Facebook and I approved it. And then I saw your exchange with him. I did not intervene because I wanted you to hit him back. That is why I did not intervene. So I will not remove him. I will not remove him. Hit him. Because I too have done it before. We have no agreement. But I will not remove him from page, because when I have opportunity, I will hit him again. because I know the discrimination that these Latinos, I told you, two people hate black people all over the world, the Arab and Latino. So I know that. And as about Michelle, I don't like her. She's not the kind of beauty I like. I tell you the truth. And I don't like her, and I don't like her husband either. So it means nothing to me. I will not make any more comments. You know, I can just make comment when some people come, because when some images come, well, I made a comment. But she's not my kind of beauty. That is clear. That is very clear. I've had many women. I know beautiful women, right from the jungle into the cities. I've seen beautiful women, and she's not my type. And it's my opinion. It's the opinion of others. And I don't like Barack Obama either, because I campaigned heavily in American community here for Barack Obama in 2008 until when he messed up with Africa. So that one, forget it. And I even will not give opinion anymore about Obama and his wife. No, for me, they mean nothing, really. So don't be afraid. I will not hit you. I accept all you point to send me. I told you, I accept all your criticism against me. It's your opinion. It does not bother me. Let's move forward. We have other more important things to say.
Well, I do find it funny something you said, though. You said the two races that hate us the most are the Arabs and the Latinos.
Yes.
And in my mind, I just thought those two races have dealt with damn near the same prejudicial, genocidal racism that we have. There was a lot of conquering going on from white settlers and a lot of Knights Templars conversions and crusades. Am I wrong in my history? You know that there are more affluent history people here. Am I wrong in this? This is just off the top of my head. So I just found that funny that y'all caught just as much hell as we did. How fucking stupid are you to hate us?
I actually muted my mic because I was being respectful to Mr. O. So, Mr. O, it wasn't. I know we're going to get at each other on the show like we all do. This is why we got a panel. This is why it's hashtag Faith the Black, and we have our different perspectives. But at the same time, you just can't blame the freaking Democrats. You can't. One thing I can't blame the Democrats on. Two things. Two of the biggest things. Number one, they don't follow up with black people. We both agreed on this on plenty of shows. We brung it up plenty of times. They don't follow through when it comes to black folks. But then here's number two. Here's the kicker. They allow the Republicans to do what they want to do. That's why I don't believe in Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer. Period. They're weak leaders, and they just think more money to the party is going to help them out. Period. Which also leads to the story of into Jacob Blake. The current administration actually visited Kenosha. They didn't even go down to where his cousin was. Didn't even attempt it.
What was the whole purpose of going
there? Not so. The father of Jacob was turning against Donald Trump. He said it. The mother said Donald Trump called her, but they did not give the call to her. So the man, Trump spoke about it. So some went to Kenosha, and the father came on TV saying no, and then hailed Joe Biden. So well, I respect the father, but I'm more inclined to the mother. That on the two of them, I stand more with the mother.
That's because she speaks the rhetoric that you're comfortable with, and that's more passive, peaceful methods, and to be more forgiving.
Yes, I stand for the mother.
That's why you side more with the mother. and the
Look,
mother is promoting and promoting the propaganda that they need to hear right now to kind of ease everybody down. Well, if somebody who is that close is personally affected and they're screaming peace, that does more damage than good. We understand your point, but when you're in situations like this, you can only ask for peaceful movements with your emotional rage. You cannot ask people for unadulterated peace because you might be okay with it, but I guarantee you nobody else, not everybody else in the family is okay with it, even if you claim you okay with it. So you can't expect to promote that type of vibe.
Joe Biden has said, let justice take its course. So even Joe Biden is not satisfying, but he's just said, let justice take its course. So, that is exactly what I stand more by the mother, in this case, the mother is the one that feel the pain mostly. The one that carried him in the womb and brought him to the world is the one I feel that I should stand more with. Because the wife of Awan Sada said, women are worst enemies. And it is her child that is going through suffering. And really, that young man needs to recover. And we need to be more spiritual for him to stand up than the other fight that will not heal the child. So let me stand by the mother now that you want her son to recover. That is the most important thing. Justice will take its time. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
C-Boy, what you got to say on this? Because it seemed like we kind of exclude you out the conversation, but this is mainly about you, and it also ties into the show.
Well, no, it's not about me. But first of all, I just have a question. Professor O, are you a Christian?
Look, my religion does not mean I condemn what the police did. I said it many times. There's no justification at all. There's no justification. My religion does not have anything to do in this case. I condemn all the police torturing anybody, especially those black people. I have seen that the police, the white police especially, are very cruel to black people. That I know, and it happens even here in South America. But on this case, the mother and the sister cried out, and they are the one that need more support. You see? So that is why I stand by them, because it seems the father and the mother are divided in their approach to this very crisis, with this very event, which is natural.
Professor?
The reaction is different, but I stand by the mother. Yes.
Professor, right? There's a reason why I asked the question. You said a lot. I'm still waiting to hear the clear answer so I know how to talk to you. So it's important. You may not think it's important. Right now, for me, it's important. I'm just asking you a straight up question. Are you Christian?
Look, listen.
Hold on, before you, Mr. O, real quick, Mr. O, before you answer, hold on. Let me help you out. Let me elaborate on his question. When he asked you the question, are you a Christian? He asked that not to understand you from a personal aspect. He wants to understand what your central moral and ethical structure was based in. Was it based within Christianity, primary versus Muslim? All points are the same, but the way in which it is articulated is different. The wordplay is different. So when he asks you, are you a Christian? He's asking that so he can understand what wording to respond with.
It is even more based on my African tradition than of my Christian faith. When I was coming abroad, wait, let me finish. When I was coming abroad, my mother and many women in my tribe told me, listen, you are going to a foreign land. If somebody steps on you, just greet him, hello, and move on. That is what he told me. So I hope that explains the reason. Yes, I'm a Christian, but it's based solidly on African spiritual values more than the way the white people preach Christianity.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I got the answer that I needed. Now, you have a lot to say about my family without knowing any of them. You're expressing your opinion about my family. Now, let me explain to you the actual history of my family so that you could actually understand what's happening. First of all, Jacob Blake is the 5th generation great-grandson of Brasa and Chabra. Brasa and Chabra is Binham Brasa. It comes from the Brasa people who are not Christian. The Brasa people have been documented in history of having been considered those who resist. The Brasa people, when attacked, traditionally, what they do is they retreat from the attack and they counter-strike. This is the natural response of Brasa people when attacked. Throughout history, they have been known for counterattacking those that attack them. So my family, who was not Christian before they were brought to America, their natural response to being attacked by now would be to regroup and then counterattack. Now, Brasa and Chabra was a boy about 8 years old when he was brought to America. And the process of kidnapping and capturing him created trauma. Okay? The trauma released hormones and chemicals that provoked the fight or flight response in this boy. And he witnessed violence by people called Christians who came to his land specifically to kidnap young people and murder their parents. So our family's first introduction to Christians were as murdering kidnappers who stole members of our family. When my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was kidnapped, our family, still in our homeland, mounted counter-strikes against those who stole my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. When he was brought to North Carolina, he was forced through terror and trauma, right, to obey their white Christian slave owners. In neuroscience, what that means is that parts of Brasa and Chabra's brain were conditioned or coded to figure out what was the best chance for survival. And in that situation, as an 8-year-old boy, obedience was the best way to survive. Now, within neuroscience, they will talk about what's called familiarity heuristic, meaning that your brain begins to develop automatic subconscious behavioral response patterns to various stimuli, and that this becomes your subconscious behavior. So by the time Brasa and Chabra had a son, Jack, my 4th generation great-grandfather, he was the first one that was born, first in our family ever, born into captivity, born into slavery. Prior to that, we had never known submission to anyone. In fact, we didn't even have chiefs or leaders of Brasa people. We had nothing in our DNA, nothing in our subconscious that would ever make us obedient and submissive to some foreign authority. However, by the first generation born in America, right, that is what was encoded and transferred into our family. Now, during this time, right, Brasa and Chabra, his son, the first generation born here in America, were still not Christians yet. Okay? Brasa and Chabra's son, Jack, had a son named Yancey. Okay? It's during Yancey's time that you had the Nat Turner Rebellion. And what happened after the Nat Turner Rebellion was that white people were so afraid of insurrections that they started to have councils and meetings to figure out what could they do to prevent slave insurrections. The Nat Turner Revolt happened 129 miles from where my family was enslaved in North Carolina, and they weren't Christian yet. The response to the Nat Turner Rebellion was Reverend Charles Colcock Jones was trained as a Princeton, a theological seminarian, got together with other Princeton-trained seminarians and other seminarians from different congregations, and they decided to come up with a national plan to create a Christian catechism specifically for the enslaved that was different from the Christian catechism of white people, and that this catechism would focus exclusively on making slaves obedient to their masters. Reverend Charles Colcock Jones had studied black people and realized, he said, look, they're illiterate. They like singing. They mimic and they sing, and this is how they learn. So we're going to create special hymns for them. And we are going to design the Christian service for them. What we're going to do is we're going to actually invite them into our congregations because familiarity breeds affection. We're going to smile in their face. We're going to make ourselves open to them and let them know we are benevolent. And we're going to teach them this form of Christianity that we're going to design specifically to make them think that it is a sin to use violence against the slave master. There was a preacher in Wake County, North Carolina, where my family was enslaved, named Bennett Blake. My family was enslaved by the Blake family. The Blake family made their money because their patriarch, Sir Admiral Robert Blake, was a traitorous, treasonous English person who fought in the English Civil War against his own king, and as a result, was rewarded by becoming the commander of the English fleet under Charlemagne, or excuse me, under Cromwell. This Robert Admiral Blake started sailing ships on the west coast of Africa, and he was a pirate, and he robbed and stole from Spanish ships. And one of the ships he stole from, he got $14 million worth of booty, and this is how the Blake family got their money. And the Cromwell and the English crown after that contracted with the Blake family and said, we will give you acres in North and South Carolina for every English family that you bring over. So this is how the Blake family got their land. They were pirates, they stole it from other people. And then they were just given free land in North and South Carolina. And this is how their family became three of the largest slave owners in the United States history. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand, Professor O, that my family, like most black families in America, were not Christian until 1831, after Nat Turner or the Southampton insurrection, after this national plan by Reverend Colcock Jones, right, to Christianize the Negro so that they would be obedient. This had an effect on the subconscious brain, and every generation of my family that was born into this slave society since then, right, has had this programming. So when you see the response of my family today is being used by both political parties, okay? Trump is using the mother, who is not Belanta. Biden is using Jacob, who is Belanta or Brasa. Both sides are using them. If you don't understand what happened to our people and how the Christian conversion was one of the tragic effects of our slave experience, you can't understand the response of our family and how they're still under the Christian mental slavery that was put in them because their nature would be to attack whoever attacks us. So if you don't know Belante history and you don't know the history of my family, you're not really in a position to give your opinion isn't worth anything because you're commenting on something you don't know about. Most of my family doesn't even understand their own Christian mental programming yet because they haven't reconnected to their ancestral heritage like I have. I'm the only one in the family that took a DNA test, went to our ancestral homeland. And anyone who understands the ancestor science, I don't use the word ancestor worship, I use the word ancestor science. When you understand the cause and effect relationship of how things work between the ancestral realm and the earthly realm, then you will understand that being the only one in my family that is actually, after 250 years, returned to our ancestral homeland, I'm the only one that is getting the direct messages from the Belante ancestors. And what they are saying is that they are not happy with the fact that the family is promoting the religion and the indoctrination of the very people they were fighting to make sure we weren't captured in the first place. So I had to ask you, Professor O, if you were Christian, that I could understand where your mentality is. And listen, just like you were praying for me to keep fighting, we keep praying for you, right? So that you won't give up. You just said tonight you're having doubts. We're praying for you that you will continue to listen to us and come out of your mental slavery so that you can understand and be able to say the things that are going to be helpful in this time, not the things that our enemies have programmed into us. So what you're seeing, the Blake family right now is a great case study in what happens when you don't understand your history that started before the slave ship. And when your history begins with the slave ship and what happened after, and when you don't understand why Black people in America were converted to Christianity, then you can come away with thinking that the mother of Jacob Blake was magnanimous. And in fact, she's doing the most damage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Mr. O, go ahead and rebut that if you have anything.
I have no more opinion. Nothing more.
All right. What about you, Teach? I know you've been over there, been waiting to say something. Hopefully she can hear me. Teach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Teach. The
I was
floor is
just
yours.
trying to. I was just trying to send a message. Somebody has some background noise going on, a television, a radio, or something.
I got my headphones.
I got my
Okay.
headphones.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's much, much better. I just want to say that Sipaway is correct in that because of the conditioning of Christianity. Christianity tells you to stifle yourself. It tells you not to feel what you're feeling at that time, if in fact it is against the dominant race. And it is a programming, it's poison. And you all have heard me talk about this many times. As I have analyzed the whole pantheon of Christianity, I truly feel when you look up the root word religio, that's Latin for religion, and it means to bind. And I believe that Christianity has a stronghold on the minds of the people. And that stronghold is against yourself. It is against your better being. And it teaches you to worship men, particularly white men, particularly the white race. And one observation that I have made in our many conversations now, whenever we talk about race, we always put the emphasis on the victim, the person that's receiving the butt of the racism. And we're always looking for ways as how that person can change. And we never address the race that created racism and uses racism. We never look at how that must stop. Those people must stop. And that goes again into that Christian cosmology, where when Cain slew Abel and he was removed from his homeland, and he said, "Oh no, I can't be where." He said, "The people will kill me." And the response goes such like, a mark was set upon him that no one would dare kill him. So that mark is the same mark that the Caucasian people carry, that when blacks specifically are in a dangerous situation, they think about that ingrained doctrine that say, do not touch him, do not kill him, though he kills you. That indoctrination tells you to nullify yourself, to stop thinking. And every move that you make will be a move to your detriment, not to your freedom, not to your liberation, not to power. It teaches you to suppress your DNA. It teaches you to suppress your spirit. Your spirit is your God. Your spirit are your angels. Your spirit are your ancestors. But that type of religion teaches you to suppress it. But I'm here to say, being brought up in that religion, that my spirit, my DNA tells me to stop being drunk off the wine of Jezebel. And you have to understand what the wine of Jezebel is. The wine of Jezebel is that religious teaching. Once you sober up, then your ancestors will begin to speak to you. They will begin to rise in you. They will begin to empower you and guide you and show you how to remove the shackles that's on your mind, heart, body, and soul. Your ancestors will teach you what's right and what is wrong. They will teach you how to love yourself. They will teach you how to self-identify. They will teach you not to be afraid of a race because they have seized power in the world. If we would truly read the Bible and have an understanding, the Bible tells us that the devil rules the airways and that he was kicked out of heaven to rule over the world. So whoever is in power over the world is in cahoots with the devil, because Satan once had the name as Lucifer. The Bible also says they have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. So there's people that think that some people are straight from God. These people are of the devil. They have the same characteristics of the devil. What do we know? We've all been taught that the devil kills, the devil steals, and the devil destroys. And there are certain races that has that personality character that is exactly like the devil. So when you loose yourself into freedom, when you sober yourself up from drinking the wine of Jezebel, then you do not have to bring yourself down to suck up to a person and race that's in actuality lower than you. Because as Black people, we were created by the Creator. And the first breath of life came directly into our nostrils, into our DNA. All other races that come from us, they get their breath from us. They didn't get their breath from the Creator. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why we are hated, because we are the children of God. And it is only the children of a lesser God, a God that gives them no land, a God that gives them no culture, that makes war with the children of God, that gives them land, that gives them culture, that gives them everything they need to survive on this earth. The children of a lesser God has to make themselves look big and make everyone else look small, because naturally they are children of a lesser God. They have less. And the only way that they can survive is that they kill, they steal, and destroy.
All right. So just to let everybody know, this all falls into this topic of today, and that's Black tokenism. Because it's happening a lot more than anything. I actually did the Alamarte show late night. I've been trying to get in tune with doing that show, and I've been seeing a lot of it. Once again, I'm not expecting that all Black people to agree on everything or think the same way, but to just basically don't have no thought about what you're saying and understand what you're saying is where I have the issue with. So on the show last night that I did was this it was actually a post that was shared by one of my Facebook friends, which she just thought, this black guy, he's making sense. He's saying what, not like saying Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, because his post was basically saying to LeBron James, you don't talk about me and my family. He had 4 black boys, basically saying you should comply to the police officer and you won't lose your life, basically. And I think that's just being disingenuous at best. So I want to just throw on the floor, what do y'all feel about Black tokenism? And do y'all think that it's stopping Black progress in America?
It's a strategy from the white supremacist playbook. The white supremacist has a playbook. First, they had to institute white supremacy. Then they had to define it, develop it. Then they have to maintain it. And now they're in the refinement stage. Tokenism is specifically designed to allow a few million Black people to appear to have financial success, material success, so that you can continue to exploit the other 90% and confuse them and make them feel like there's something wrong with them, because you can always say, look at these people, they're doing well. So tokenism is if you read the white supremacist strategy handbook, they literally talk about a time will come when they will calculate how much they can afford to give certain people positions and wealth and power, so that it can continue their exploitation against the vast majority.
All right, so let me step in real quick. Let me make it clear, because I don't want to seem like I'm just sticking with one side. So I say this: for Al Sharpton, I give you a Larry Elder. For what's the other guy?
It doesn't matter which side.
Yeah,
it really doesn't, because that was going to be my point that I was going to jump in with.
Yeah.
Well, I have this example of Black tokenism where it works to your disadvantage. In the case of Ben Carson as a brain surgeon, from the time he performed that surgery till today, no one has exceeded him. He was at the top of his field and still at the top of his field. But that wasn't good enough for him. He had to bring himself down to come into the Trump administration, and they put him in an area that he knows nothing about, and that former glory of being number one, he just dropped straight down to the bottom. That's what I mean when you're at the highest you can be. Nobody is greater than you in your field. But because you don't feel best of yourself, you have not self-actualized and self-developed, you step down, stoop down, brown nose, and now people make a mockery of you. That is supreme tokenism at a waste. Wasted.
Now, to speak on it from to wear the little black hat and to kind of elaborate more on what Brother Balaka was saying, it's strategic because, once again, Mr. O, it's a game. So most people get caught in the extreme that Teach speaks of, and unwittingly and sometimes intentionally allow themselves to fall into that category. While on the flip side, you have the quote unquote tokens that use it for either a personal or more powerful reasoning and movement. I'll give you 2 examples. Carlton Banks from the Fresh Prince, quote unquote token. Now, let's think about who was really hood during that whole show. Will ran because he got his ass whooped at a basketball court and flew all the way across to the West Coast. Carlton got dared to go live in the projects and ended up becoming an OG overnight. Carlton took Will's drugs unbeknownst to him, finds out they drugs, knew he got them from Will, and didn't snitch, even after getting his stomach pumped. Carlton go get a gun after watching his cousin Will get shot after attempted robbery. Who was really hood? Carlton. But who played the token role to get the benefits and get ahead in the success that he needed, and he knew that his father expected of him? Carlton. That's tokenism used for your personal benefit. Now, for a more powerful movement, you could consider someone like Dr. King. Because unbeknownst to a lot of black people, it was a lot of white philanthropists that secured the capital to actually structure the NAACP and actually fund and gas up them buses and really feed them people when they went out here for these marches, and pay for the paper to promote the movement and pamphlets. It was Dr. King going to these white dinner parties with these white philanthropists and playing the educated brother, speaking very eloquent and articulate and passionate with a strategic choice of words in order to convey sympathy, a feigned sense of sympathy, and what I want to say, narcissistic and benevolence. Like, ooh, I'm helping you. Me giving you money is doing so much to benefit your little life. Like, it's so great of me. It's so godly of me to help. So you can promote that and plant that seed into a person's mind. And sometimes you got to play the token role.
Listen to the very word that's being used. Tokenism comes from token. A token is a thing serving as a visible or tangible representation of a fact, quality, or feeling. A token is a thing serving as a visible or tangible representation. So here's the trick. By having a token sit at the table, you have a visible representation of what's supposed to be what power. By having a certain number of black millionaires, most of whom are what? Celebrities and athletes, right? Is a visible representation of financial success. The trick is that it is visible, so you can't deny it. How can you say there is racism? How can you say that there's white supremacy if we can point to all of these tokens, right, that are visible representations that, yes, you can succeed in America even if you're black? But that's where the confusion is because the white supremacist knows that that only happens because they allow it, and that for the other 90%, no, you're not going to be able to succeed, which is why 10% of black people own 75% of black wealth. 90% of black people are scrambling around for the remaining 25% crumbs. So it's propaganda. It's built into the system to say, look, if we didn't have these tokens, these black people would have no hope, no aspiration that they could make a successful life in America. And when people lose hope, then they have nothing else to lose. So what we got to do is we got to give them some sort of sign, some hope, make it, to keep them from what? Revolting. That's all tokenism is.
All right. So what do you say to that one brother or sister? Because I know CNN been producing it. I know all the news outlets have been producing it, where they have these tokens on there and they say, well, they should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They should get out of the victimhood. They should understand that there is milk and honey for everybody. If you stop thinking that racism is always and the white man's after you, then you will make it. What would you say to that person? I leave the floor open.
I say to them, be honest with yourself and ask yourself this question. If you are expressing these thoughts and opinions, knowing there is a plausible potential for personal benefit as well as financial advancement, if there's any kind of chance that you saying these things could put you in a favorable spot down the line, shut your coon talking ass up. Now, if you truly, sincerely believe this and you have the articulate intelligence to back up that statement, to understand that, make people understand that this is not me speaking as a coon. This is me speaking not as a token. This is me speaking from this vantage point and this mindset and understanding and logic. Know that when I say this, I understand fully well that I am perceived in this light. But know that none of my actions and none of my inclinations or drive is anywhere remotely close to that. If you're like that, then yeah, I have no problem with you saying that, and I respect you for it. But like we most know, most of the people that are saying these things and expressing these are people that are already in a favorable position and they're networked and linked up either socially or business wise with individuals that would feel some kind of way about what's going on. So it's in their best interest to kind of pillow talk, as Teach would say.
What about you, Seaway?
Most of the people that you just described it would say that truly believe that their whole life is proof positive that anyone can make it. Their ego will not allow them to admit that they were, for lack of a better word, got lucky, or they were chosen, right? Or that that there is a system in place that is designed to only let a certain number of people succeed. They're not going to invalidate their own psychological need to support their own ego. So they're not going to say, yeah, I made it, but the system is designed so that most people can't make it.
Well, you know, my response to them is, and going back to your whole point about a token being a representation of currency, is also a substitute and alternative for currency by means of if you can use this in order to get this by means of usually gains. So I respond to them, will say, well, I made it. Okay. Well, how many times did you have to fail? Or how many times did you have to, quote unquote, struggle before you finally made it? How many pushes and good starts did you make that failed to nothing? How many? Were you successful on your first round? Yeah. If so, how so?
Or a great analogy is to use the casino. Everybody knows that the casino is stacked so that the casino wins.
Yep, the house.
So does that stop some people from hitting the jackpot on a slot machine or in a big game? No, there are always going to be some winners. But everybody knows that the system of the casino is that the vast majority of people are going to lose so that a few people can win.
And even the winners, though, how many times did you have to go in there and invest before you win? So I was like, how many times did you have to allow yourself to be a token before you finally became the prize?
Yes, exactly.
Right. I mean, go to the 21 table like the last time we went to because casinos are all.
Oh man, they kill you right there. Blackjack. Don't do that.
Oh,
Don't do
I'll
that to
tell you,
yourself.
I played blackjack, and they know if you on the roll, they will always switch the cards. They always switch
Hmm.
the dealer all the time, and it's just like damn. So I can understand that analogy. Mr. O, you got anything to add? Floor still open.
No, not exactly. Not exactly. I'm only listening to each of you, expressing your view about the matter you brought up, and you say it as you live it. So I only can listen here, but I will repeat what I asked you to do last time. I cannot give an opinion, or let me say make a proposition based just on what you people are saying here, because you are repeating the same thing that you've said before. It will be good if you invite a professional, an anthropologist, to come and tell us what he or she sees in our community. This question of tokenism, the anthropologist will be the best to give us a clearer explanation.
I
I
disagree.
need
We
to
know, we
apply
know
no.
the
I
problem. We
disagree.
know
The
the
anthropologist will be
Oh,
qualified to speak on anthropological
that
matters.
is,
So
that is
we're
your
talking,
opinion. That is your opinion. Let me speak now.
yeah. Let Mr. O finish.
Hmm? An anthropologist, then a psychologist, then a sociologist. Let them give us a breakdown of the problem of our community, and we will see it the other form and see then how we can help our community. The tokenism is already there. When you have affirmative action, when politicians begin to divide their position, they put in people who they can control. It's so all over the world. But let us focus on the problem of our community and see how we can help lift them up. That is
Mm,
my input.
Well,
You don't
well,
I
have to
would
agree
as
like
with
to
we
me, but
as
add
that's
we
my
okay,
lift
input.
them up,
okay,
go
okay.
ahead, teach.
Go ahead,
Go
teach.
ahead, teach.
I'm about to give
um,
her.
some words that can be used to describe some actions, some people, and even some periods of time in our history. In one word, accommodationist. If you think back, accommodationist is a person that's willing to go along to get along to achieve their objective, even if it means that you don't assert yourself or push yourself for your own rights. And I believe one person can best fit that bill as a accommodationist is Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington has been called many things: a coon, a sellout, because of his position of not agitating for your civil rights. He strongly believed that you work, build your business, and that will bring you respect. Then you have assimilationist. That person is willing to change their pattern of thinking, their pattern of behavior to be modified to closely relate to or look like that of the majority um, culture. That
Hmm.
person is willing to shed their identity to be seen as identified as um, as the prominent culture. And the reason why these two particular types of people found themselves in our culture And this may sound controversial, but if you listen to it and really think about it, it's really not. It is because of Christianity. And when I say that, when um, early America was forming, the early settlers had an issue or problem with people coming to this country who were not Christian. For them, Christian was comforting. When you're Christianized, they know your thinking patterns, they know your limitations, they know how far you will go. But when you bring in a religion outside of Christianity, and I mean just Catholicism, our nation did not like Catholics because Catholics had an allegiance to the Pope, and thereby their thinking or their modes of habit were different than the Protestant type Christians or the Lutheran type Christians or the Quakers for that matter. So they look to it became a rule in the law that when Africans come to the United States, or well, before it was the United States, came into the colonies, within 8 days, they had to be Christianized because they had to change their mode of thinking so that they can anticipate how they would think and anticipate their behaviors. And that is why they began to Christianize, baptize the Africans into the society.
All right.
Christianity.
I'm sorry, Teach. Sorry. Go ahead.
Christianity has a very narrow focus, and it ruffles their feathers for people to think differently. And so you have a whole stream of intolerance. If it's not this way, if it's not the way the Bible says, if it's not this way, it's wrong, it's evil, you're my enemy.
You're a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is an enemy. Democracy is the life that we have chosen, and capitalism. And it's all tied in together. So if someone talks about communism, that's the enemy. It's not just another way of life, it's seen as an opposing force.
Like
If
socialism.
someone would, it's same thing with socialism. Anything outside of capitalism, Christianity, and democracy, it is seen as an alien, evil, antagonizing force. So when you understand it, the way our societies were molded, it was molded to be the same. Everybody to think the same. And when you think differently, you are the enemy.
All right. Sipway, you was about to say something to rebuke what Mr. O was saying. What you were saying?
I was just saying, with Mr. O being the self-confessed contrarian, right? Basically, what he did was basically because he's the contrarian and we seem to be on the same page and speaking loudly. He's like, okay, well, it was kind of insulting. Let's just get rid of the panel and replace it with a professional anthropologist, as if we're not, as if the people themselves can't solve their own problem. You can have an anthropologist that's just as brainwashed because he's Christian or he comes from some school of training. You can have some sociologist that comes from some particular background, right? I just took issue with the idea that professional academics are going to be the people that can solve the problem, because if that was the case, it would be solved by now. Okay? The professional academics are under the same mental slavery and brainwashing and systematic pressure to conform with this system as everybody else. The people that are going to be able to come up with the solutions are the professional thinkers, the ones that have sacrificed and don't get paid by any institution, who maintain their independence and freedom of thought, and have a genuine love for their people to figure out, okay, this casino itself is the problem. So either I'm going to figure out where the money is stored in the casino and figure out some kind of plan to go into the casino and not play the games, but go and find out where the money is and go and take that and leave. Or I got to say to myself, the casino keeps ripping off my people. Because the vast majority of people, as Beast was pointing out, are paying and they're losing. They're not winners. So the casino is hurting my community. So either I got to take the casino out, or I've got to infiltrate the casino, get the money, and leave with it. But if I'm still under the paradigm, let me go in here and see if I can pull this slot and see if I can win, or let me go in here and play a couple rounds of blackjack and maybe I can come out ahead. If that's how we're thinking, then we're slaves. We are literally what they made us to believe, which is what teaching is saying. They have put these shackles on our thinking that we accept the paradigm. And the only way
I think
go ahead, teach.
I think Professor O was saying we need a fresh perspective. To bring in other people, and I agree with that. Bring in other people from different disciplines and have them weigh in on the conversation.
No,
I think
wouldn't
we
even say
all
nothing.
can.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, teach.
Yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. Just to bring in other people from other disciplines. I don't negate myself as a professional. Never will. Nobody can ever make me negate myself. But I see, to his point, just to bring in other people that will be pro or con to us. That's all.
All right. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Beast.
Am I right, Mr. O?
Yes, you interpreted me perfectly.
I was about to say something. It's more for their whole stamp of approval. You know what we're saying it very insightful and very eloquent, and we're all intelligent in our own right. And I know y'all caught myself on when I spoke on the speak on history. I know I have 3 individuals on here who went to school and to intently study the history of the world, more specifically Black culture. So if I say anything that I believe is true, I will question myself in front of you. Like, am I right? I mean, I use y'all like fact checkers, because I know if y'all say it is correct, then it only validates my statement furthermore. So like when he says bring those on, I understand that from their point of, all right, you bring you bring these well-learned people who have the quote-unquote paperwork for their titles. And if they're saying the same things that we're saying, it only puts more weight and favor to the comments that we've been making, and only says that obviously what we're saying is the truth, because these people went to school for many years and they're saying exactly the same thing that we've been saying for the last month, and they just met us.
Right. I'm more on the fence. Yes, I believe we should have people with different perspectives come on this show, or just speak up in general. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. That's more what I'm in line with. Just speak up in general.
Right. But I also go with what Seaway also said too as well, which lead me to say this: history is your best teacher. It teaches you everything. It teaches you everything. Who's gonna tell you more about your experience than you? Who's gonna tell? How can I explain Beast Johnson's life if I never lived Beast Johnson's life? For what? I'm going by what he tells me. That does not mean that I know more about his life. Or if Teach does a biography about Mr. O, who's gonna know Mr. O's life other than Mr. O? So, like I said, I encourage people from other backgrounds and all that stuff to come on up in here. But I'm not gonna know anybody's. They're not gonna know my experience or how I feel with it, even if they do agree with me, because they'd be like, "Yeah, I agree with you," but then I'd be like, "No, you don't understand." Every day of my life, I have to live with a target on my back when I have even my own people who made it out the hood telling me it's a figment of your imagination. Get out that victimhood.
Oh, I just need you to understand it. That's how I usually like white people at my old job. Like I would say racist stuff, and I'm like, "Is this racist?" And I would ask the white dude. He was like, "No, it's not racist." I said, "See, this ain't racist, and that came from a white person. So you know it means something."
Yeah.
The problem is this, right? Okay, say you pick an economist. Well, if you get a black conservative economist like Thomas Sewell, he's going to be the exact opposite of Sandy Darity. Sandy Darity is talking about the racial wealth gap, and Thomas Sewell is talking about the opposite of that. So they're both professionally trained economists. They're on opposite ends of the fence. So, it's like, in every there's no consensus among the learned scholars either. There's no consensus. So I was
you play the safe route. You play the safe old school senior citizen. I'm just wasting my pension because I ain't got shit else to do. I'm just gonna bet across the board. Just spread it across the line. So like you said, you have one person on one end, you have one on another end. I'm gonna bring both of you in. If we speaking on something that deals with that particular realm that both of you are very learned about, I want both of you on there. Right. If there's somebody else that's just as learned, I want everybody that is highly knowledgeable of this particular subject or topic that we speak of. I want all of you. Because like I said, I go back and say, I look at it like a parent and something that happened to the kid. Before I go whoop anybody's ass, I'm gonna get every child involved. What happened? One at a time. What happened from you? What happened from you? Now I want the person. Okay, so what I'm hearing from all of you is the base story of this. Am I correct? And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yeah, okay. So you three can go. You say your little ass right here. You take your little ass in the house. You and me going to your mama. That's how you gonna solve it. Just take that same approach.
Yeah.
I like what you saying don't make no sense. What you saying is only valid in one perspective. Y'all making the most sense. Y'all holding the most logic. Okay, y'all stay. The rest of y'all, thank you for your time.
But so, which leads me to this question right here. Do y'all believe that with black people with black tokenism that just jump on the bandwagon because it's that one bandwagon fan? 1 minute they're the Washington Redskin fan, then the next thing you know they're a Dallas Cowboys fan, and they jump on there.
We got a better term for it, and I don't mean to be disrespectful or vulgar because there's a lady present, but they dick riders, DYCK riders.
Because there's a lot
riders. It don't, whatever the flavor is, they gonna fix their mouth to like it.
And that's a lot that's been going on out there right now, and it's mainly people that look like us. What do y'all say about that?
Is because if you're not well grounded in who you are, you won't know how to navigate all the different perspectives coming at you.
Teach, go ahead.
That's the classic assimilationist that I spoke of. You will imbibe other racial and cultural integration. You integrate mentally, physically, and spiritually in some cases. So just with the self-hatred paradigm where women and men are going through all types of changes to lighten their skin so they can appear white. And I seen a young lady go through a full transformation. She was already high yellow, but she bleached and bleached and bleached until she was totally pale. And she dyed her hair blonde, and she put in blue eye contacts. And she wanted to be seen as white. She wanted to pass for white. And that pressure to pass for white comes from where? It comes from the years of racism. That if you're black, you're just not going to have the opportunities. But if I can pass for white, then somehow, some way, they look at me and I can have a better opportunity.
Paul Mooney said it best: the complexion for the protection. The lighter you are, the whiter you are.
Or people always tell me the illusion of inclusion.
So if you want to get a house or rent an apartment, you've all seen the studies where if you have a black name, you're not entertaining that call, right? If you want to you want a job, you got to have a resume if you have a black name. So if your goal is economic benefit, if that's what you're focused on,
start from the womb.
Rational, logical thinking says the more white I sound, the more I wear white people clothing, a suit and a tie, the more I look like a white person. So I'm going to shave off my dreadlocks. I'm not going to wear my beard. Right? The more I present as white, the more my odds of financial success. And because none of us can escape the earthly needs to provide a house and food and clothing and all of those things, because we can't escape that. We're trapped in this system whereby, okay, if you want to play the game, you want to play the game to win. Here are the rules. The rules say that the more white, the more likely you are to win. So there's all this pressure to, as Teach says, assimilate. And then we start, when you see someone who is assimilating and doing well, and you become envious of their success, and you look at the people who aren't assimilating and they're not doing, you begin to devalue the non-assimilated, and you start to value the assimilated. And it's been going on like this ever since we came into contact with these white Christians.
To me, assimilating, going down that path is the coward's way. I prefer, if you're going to play the game that way, if you're going to represent yourself as a token, or even just have that perception placed upon you, then you have to be educated enough to fight it back at every stand. Like, you got to look at it as like a war, a perpetual war. You got to have that sword and shield on deck at all times. And I'm reminded of Bamboozled. Like, y'all remember Damon Wayne's character in Bamboozled? And he was, just him. He was, for lack of a better term, on the outside, a coon who sold his self-hating coon, who perpetuated one of the greatest atrocities, and was so self-hatred and smart enough to have his own people blackface themselves. but he was smart enough and educated enough in the science and true tragedy of America and the American history with blacks to understand that the only way to get white people to really know about this is from our mouths, and it's going to take extreme measures.
But look at what
it was. I understand the method behind it. Execution is always tantamount with me. So you can have that mentality, but you have to execute something like that, those type of extremes, in a very strategic, methodical manner to avoid any type of backlash.
Beast, what would
you got people like that.
What would you say, like in Africa right now, they're teaching their kids learn English, learn French, so that you can go work for these companies and have the money.
It's one of these type of conversations. No, because I was raised that way myself. So from personal experience, like my Christian name is Alexander. It is Hebrew for helper of humanity. I was always raised, my father's name was Joey. My last name is of Scottish heritage. My mother's maiden name is of Irish heritage. I've always had some type of white presence and stamp upon me my entire life. My father always, in a sense, indoctrinated me with the understanding that you are a black man. You need to know your roots, and you will know your roots. But understand that in order to properly move within this world of white people, there are certain things that you got to strategically set yourself up for success. He named me Alexander. He taught me to speak with eloquence, to take my time to use my words and make sure that people could clearly hear me. And I've had racist moments of self-hatred where I've gotten a job solely off of my resume and a phone interview. They never met me until my first day. So when I walked in like you currently see me now. Full beard, suit and tie, with dreads down my back. Stating, yes, I'm here to see the manager. What's your name? I'm Alexander. I'm here for my first day. And the shock of the people's face. You're Alexander? Yes, ma'am, I am. And they took me in the back, showed me my supervisor in the back. And a few moments later, when she got me alone, she said, we only hired you because we thought you were white. This was a black woman that told me this to my face my first day. And my response, because my father raised me the way he did, was, well, you hired a nigga, so what you gonna do about it now?
Professor O made the point. He made a good point in the opening. When he talked about Zimbabwe and how you got African people giving the land back to the white people. You have African people on the continent. They're supposed to have their own country. It's supposed to be, traditional Africans. They are telling their children, I want you to learn English. I want you to learn French. All the textbooks are being produced in colonial languages still. So this whole, if you want to make it in this world, you got to be white. You got to be European. It's not just with Black Americans. It's in Africa.
It's with everybody. Yeah. I understand from that perspective. It's like I say, it's supposed to be one of those butt conversations. Like what you're talking about is the first half of the conversation. You have to learn English. You have to carry yourself in a white manner. You have to make sure they don't know you black until they physically see you. But you black. Remember where you came from. You from Africa, boy. You are proud. Always be proud of that. Yes, you might have to move like a white man, but at your core, when you go to sleep, when you wake up, you are a black man. Always remember that. Like that's what was taught to me. And I feel like that's a training and a mentality that has been lost. That you have to move in this fashion for the time being, That's just the current situation. That's being honest with yourself and being honest with everyone. But it does not negate the fact of who you are at your core and who you are at the depths of your soul. You're a black person. You're a black man.
Yeah.
You come from a proud black man heritage.
Mhm.
You never let anything and anyone in this world dispute that. Just because your name is Alexander does not mean that you are not from African heritage.
And then also, I think for me, I'm also gonna pivot to a different view on all this too as well. That we live in a I'm a mind my own business type of mentality. Because to go back to what Beast Johnson was saying about his job, I know he had that one person where everybody's sitting there saying, man, this, why the boss is doing this, why is he putting this policy? Like, I'm just gonna say hypothetical. Hey, your breaks are no longer 10 minutes, they're 5 minutes. And you're like, yo, what the? Like, damn, how come I enjoy a cigarette in like 5 minutes? Like, yo, what's going on? And you always got that one employee who's like, get over it, deal with it. And they just go and do their work. And hey, we need you to file this support, this petition, all that stuff. No, I'm good. All this stuff happened to other people, and since it's not happened to him or her, hey, that's on you. That's on you. But until, as they call it, their nigga wake up call, then all of a sudden, are y'all gonna help me out? Like the boss, he's coming at me. Like, what's going on? Come on, I thought we were cool. I thought y'all was having issues with them, and everybody just look back at me. When we all was saying the same exact thing, you ain't want to say nothing. But now that it's happening to you, we all just gotta stop and listen to you now. Like really? Go ahead.
It's created. It's all steeped in false hope. And if I take this false step to create this false identity and sing falsetto, that one day it'll be real. It just won't be. And that's the thing. Right. That's the thing. With assimilation is that it plays such a deep psychological. It's psychologically damaging. It separates you from yourself. It separates you from the core of your own soul. And I'm trying to think of a psychologist that could speak to this that I could invite on the show. But overall, the whole system in which we live causes deep psychological trauma. And different people find it that their expression, like the young lady that I told you about, the expression of how she could make her life better, that's how she expressed herself.
All right, go ahead.
Other people, the Asians go through it. They go through the surgery to take the slant out of their eyes. It's not just black people that this effect is upon. It's upon every other race. And until, unless it's exposed to you, you don't think of it. But other races are going through that same trauma as well.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yes, I just want to intervene on the question of Africa. You guys do not know Africa, or you are misinformed. In Africa, our languages are well preserved. We have books with stories and literature written in Africa, especially in Anglophone Africa. English and French are studied all over the world, especially English because it's the language of science and technology. Also, it allows intertribal communication, which this generation was born to have, and there's no need of throwing it away. Worship in temples are done both in English and all tribal languages. You just have to go into YouTube and you will see material production of youth, films, everything which they are making in their own local languages. Nigeria has 308 ethnic groups with different language structures inside Nigeria. The same thing in Kenya, the same thing in Ghana. So the same thing in Liberia. Our languages are preserved, and also tradition is also transmitted, even though modernization is trying to mix up everything, but the languages are there. This traditional family structure is there, and I repeat, even in Lagos, you speak both Yoruba and also what we call Pidgin English, which is commonly understood. When you go to Kano, Hausa is spoken plus some English. So it's so all over the continent. So we did not forget at all. We have even now the educated ones are now even promoting deeply more of our languages and our culture. I have here books in oracle in the languages of spoken, the mystic languages, written in Yoruba. And so we have not, that's why I say informed us a better of Africa. No, but English and Spanish, we cannot annul it because it is what we use in studying biology, physics, astrology, all this technological, I'm a professor of computer engineering. I don't have to, there's no need of you having to translate all those words. Even in Spanish, the words in use in engineering are English words which are twisted into a Spanish kind of thing. So we cannot isolate ourselves from the world just because we want to present it. We present the languages. At the same time, the average African in Anglophone countries speaks many languages, not one. There's at least 2 or 3, local plus English. I do. So that's just, I want to clear that part of Africa for you to understand.
Oh, okay. Got you. Next one, because we're in the final minutes of the show. I just want to ask Sipwe, how is the family and how is Jacob Blake doing? Because I've been seeing a lot of people on my post sitting there saying that he deserved everything that he got and all that stuff. And I'm like, I want to say something, but I got a platform to call them out. So how is he doing? Because I don't think he was on the show. I actually had to correct a YouTuber who does a show that I respect. I still respect. I'm still a big fan. That she thought that Jacob was paralyzed. I actually had to write in the comments, which I think I should have been more respectful. She's a sister. I should have just directly sent her the comment to tell her that we had the uncle on the show to clarify that he was actually on the slow road to a full recovery, which she actually liked the comment, and she said that she got it from another source, but she said that she will correct herself. So how's the family?
Well, in regards to Jacob, I don't know. I haven't been able to get any direct information on Jacob's physical health for the last 4 or 5 days now, with the exception of the fact that the spinal cord was severed. He had several vertebrae that were shattered. His kidney was punctured. And that is a lot for anybody to sustain. So the first miracle is the fact that he still, he survived that.
Yes.
So I don't have any more direct information on how Jacob's doing, other than there's a lot of family there that's around him. His father, Jacob, has a Facebook page, and he's been posting some of his thoughts. So it's him not being filtered or under the media spotlight. It's just him. our family right now is preparing for our virtual family reunion on September the 13th. Our family traditionally has a big family reunion where we all get together. We're not going to not do that because of what has happened. It's going to make it even more special. It's not we're not actually going to get together. It's virtual this year.
Right.
But everybody's looking forward to that. But again, unfortunately, right, it was our family this past week. It's going to be another family in the next. I mean, there's already been more shootings, things like
In
that.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, there's already more shootings. When it comes to my family, the question has to be asked. When these white Christians came and attacked our family the first time, when they came, we didn't get down on our knees and pray to Jesus. We attacked, we counterattacked. The question is what happened to our family? That we went from counterattacking to the response that you see now, right? By studying what happened to our family, it's the study of what happened to the vast majority of African American people, right? Went from being one kind of being to this other kind of being. And it wasn't a natural process, it was an unnatural process. I just want to challenge people when they hear things about my family or they see the response. I want to plant the seed. Ask yourself, right? What happened to this family? It took them from being one kind of way to another kind of way. And when you study those answers, you'll have a different perspective on what's happening. And as it's been said on this show earlier, right? You got to know yourself. You got to know your history. Because if you're not, if you were an orange, and you come from an orange seed and an orange tree and an orange root, now all of a sudden you're trying to become a persimmon, that just doesn't make sense. So if you're not grounded in who you are, all these other narratives, all these other opinions, all these other perspectives can influence you to become something that you're not for somebody else's benefit. And that is the conversation we need to be having. And it's unfortunate that we spent all this time talking, and the most important thing that should be in every conversation right now is land. If we're not talking about land, the crime that was perpetrated against us was that we were kidnapped from our land, and ever since we've been here, we've had no land. Yeah. So if you want to talk about solving this problem, I don't care if you get an anthropologist, a sociologist, I don't care who you get. If they're not talking about getting land, they're not talking about the solution, because that's where your protection comes from, that's where your power comes from, that's where your independence comes from. If you don't have land, you can't feed yourself. And if somebody else is feeding you, you are the child and they are the parent. You are in a subservient relationship because you are dependent on somebody else. So I don't care who you get on the show. If we're not talking about land, we're not talking anything.
Gotcha. So once again, my blessings is with your family. And if Justin want to come back on, and if your father want to come on, the invitation is right there, because I don't believe that your story is being told accurately at all.
Justin's been busy they've been doing food distribution in Kenosha. Justin, who was on our show, he's an activist. Okay, so yeah. He's been really involved. I mean, he's doing double duty as being somewhat of the family spokesperson, but he's trying to say, hey, Black people who live in Kenosha, they did a cleanup of the city. They walked around and picked up the garbage, did a food distribution. He's just trying to do anything that's positive it makes where Black people live a little better.
Yeah, because I think it's not just me, but all of our responsibility, no matter how we have our different views, to look out for one of our own. And you are a panelist, so I extend that invitation out, and we want to do whatever to put out that y'all are putting in the work, that we are here for your cousin, and that whatever you need, if you need us to start a GoFundMe, I would love to do it, which actually I do want to bring up. I did start a coffee account, which we can get donations from everybody. I'm not going to put it out now. I'm going to put it out the next show, that we can do whatever to help out your family in this, definitely this time of need, because everybody else is looking at it as just a story, ratings, and which I will agree with Mr. O on this, just using them as a political pawn for either side, and that needs to stop.
I
So
appreciate that. And Jacob's mother started an official GoFundMe page that last time I saw I had over $150,000. So there's been a lot of people that have helped. It's way more than that now, actually. There are high medical bills and stuff like that. So a lot of people have been supporting our family and donating. A lot of people have been defending our family on social media. I see all of, I watch the interviews and everything, and I see all of the people posting. And it just goes to show, I don't even understand why did we even want to share a country with these people who feel the way that they do? If half the country means the hate-filled stuff that they're writing, and if they're just, if that's how they really feel, why are we even fighting to try to stay apart in a country with them? That, to me, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I was always taught that, you don't stay where you're not wanted.
I say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm such an issue, then help me leave.
Yes.
And but see, they won't want that, because guess what? Majority of the stuff that they are using at the disposal was created by us. So
but then I go back to the point again. If I'm a problem, then allow me to leave and separate myself from the problem and take myself out of the equation. If I'm not a problem, shut the hell up and leave me alone.
Right, because I will take everything, all the stuff that from your cell phones.
I think about it.
Yeah, we just gonna take everything, but I think it's just an obligation for us, Seepway, to look out for you, to promote GoFundMe's, even to start our own account for you and your family. And once again, if the mother, if she wants to come on, the invitation's out there. And also, most importantly, with the message that you sent us in the group saying that y'all receiving hate mail, negativity, and all that stuff, I really want to have this show on my page and piss them off, knowing that one of their family members is actually on the show and they are still here beating strong and saying that Jacob is on a slow road to a full recovery.
Also, I'd like to throw out there as well, if anyone out there that feels some kind of way about this whole situation, and anyone that knows of individuals that sending death threats, or you yourself want to send a death threat, don't send it to the Blaker family. Send it to beastthesavage@gmail.com. That's BEASTDASAVAGE@gmail.com. I will more than willing answer every last one of your death threats in response.
How about this? Just come on our page, the Alamante Show. Go ahead, put all your hate speech. Go on ahead. I'm here for
you. Yeah, that saved me the problem of hunting you there too, so that worked too.
Yeah, so go ahead, because when you attack one of us, you attack all of us.
I've heard people, celebrities and certain people talk about what they say they don't get on social media and they don't even look at stuff. I learned myself, it is trying to answer the amount of misinformation and hateful stuff that people are saying about our family is exhausting. Like I physically got sick, ill, because of it. The amount of passionate defense of my family and trying to correct people saying things that weren't true. And then I realized I can't keep up. So I just let it
It's not
go.
even there. It's the amount of. It's just the question of how can someone have so much vile hatred for someone they know nothing about. Like, if it wasn't for the fact of the cop shooting this man, you would continue to not know this individual existed. So where the fuck did all this hatred come from? Like, y'all grew up with each other. Like, he stole your girlfriend in junior high. Like, he was your first, like he was your bully in second grade. Like, what? Like his mama used to be your evil cafeteria lady. Like, what's good? Like, how on some Kevin Bacon shit? How are you personally connected to this individual that gives you the justification to feel that kind of way?
Right. But see, I just think it's something that they've just been harboring, and they just want it to be more open. Look at the environment that we're in now. They have every reason.
Well, then you need to do what I do. Just do it every day and explain to people that it's better to just let out a small little fart that's quiet every so often, as opposed to just letting that thing hold and at the wrong moment. I'm sorry. No, ain't nothing behind it. I'm sorry. And then you gotta walk away. That was awkward. Yeah. Those are racist moments where you done let it build up, and now it's a big wet fart, and you're awkward. You don't know if you messed yourself. You just know you got to leave.
Right. Well, then again, it could be something following behind it because they're full of shit. So they let that shit.
That's what I'm saying. You got to leave because it's a wet one. When you hold it there, see, when you just be honest with yourself and say, hey, yeah, I honestly admit I do have racist thoughts. To me personally, racism is funny. I will always say, who was the first person I can understand spirit chuckle from a white person standpoint? I hop off the boat, colonial white man, and one of the first things I see is this Greek god-like black man, ebony warrior, running, catching up, hawking down a zebra, and then just chucking a fucking spear in his ass and catching that motherfucker in the back of the head. Like, if I was him, what the
But yeah,
this spear checker. I can understand that, but like really, when you hear racist statements like that, I always go back like, who was the first person to just say that means something negative, like spear chucker? You're a fucking spear chucker. Goddamn spear chucker. It's like, it's childish to me. It's like, it's literally being 5 years old and you have 1 point and you're just gonna bat that thing home. Like, it's because you're ugly. It's because you're ugly. It's not my fault you're ugly.
I want some of that.
Yeah. But why are you so ugly? I mean, God, do you understand how ugly you are? Like, did your mom really give birth to you? I mean, I'm not disrespecting her, but did she really give birth to something that ugly? That's the only thing you can say.
I mean,
come on, grow up. Like, come on, be honest. We all have that childish thing in us. So, like, let's be honest. We all have that racist in us. If you admit to it, I had my moments where, hey, that kind of sounded racist. And it's okay to just kind of laugh with people like, hey, man, does that sound racist? Or did you? Yeah, that did kind of come off racist a little bit. You could check white people in a very funny manner. It's like,
yeah,
that was kind of racist.
Yeah, that was kind of racist. And it don't even have to be like a fightful thing or anything like that. But
and then white people themselves, it will come in like, hey, man,
my bad.
hey, you know you're being really racist. I was like, damn, when the white man tell you racist, you must be fucking racist.
That's true.
Well, you know what, man? I hold it as a badge of honor. That's how you embrace it. That's how you embrace it and fight it.
Right.
You acknowledge that it's there. It ain't going nowhere. It was here before you got here.
And it's gonna be here.
It's gonna be here when you gone.
Yeah.
When everybody in your family, when your family name is written from the books of history, racism will still be here.
But
So we can fight it all we want to. Just acknowledge it's here, know how to know the signs to avoid it, and try to make a joke of it so you can get through it.
speaking of that, guys, we gotta go. I think Teach just
Yeah.
she left us. So
Yeah, I will concede that as my final thought to help.
no. We gonna let you go out on the right way. But once again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and also for my panel. Let's go ahead with the final thought. Beast Johnson, lead us out.
All right. I remember when I said I'm gonna make that my final point, so I'm just gonna reiterate it. If we hope to truly fight this war, we must acknowledge that first the war exists. Identify the negative parts of this war, i.e., our enemy. Infiltrate and understand their tactics and their ways. Understand how we can apply them to our situation as a form of resistance and counterattack. Understand how we can take said information and use it to persuade and convert their own allies and turn them into ours. The old friend of my friend, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and use them as footstools. Point being, if we don't acknowledge that something is there, how can we truly solve it? Well, I'm going to go back to the main point. Police brutality is something that's here. We have to acknowledge that it exists. And the enemy is corrupt union and corrupt police officers and the structure that makes them corrupt. Now we must move forward and understand how we can take their tactics that they hide behind the law with and use them to our advantage. All the while using the same knowledge and tactics to turn their allies into our allies. Fighting them from all fronts without losing any casualties, though casualties will come. You can't have a clean war. No such thing as a clean fight. If it ain't dirty, ain't bloody, then you ain't fighting for nothing. So let's acknowledge this problem, accept that it exists, and understand how we can move forward and fight it. I end. Y'all have a good night.
Well, very correct what this Johnson have just explained. There is agitation, there's a shake-up all over the planet. The US, in Argentina, in Nigeria, in Western Europe. I think that humanity is going through a point of inflection in its history. We try to survive and make the best of ourselves. That whatever happens, we take part in the decision of where we stand and also take credit for whatever the result is. These are very special times in the history of mankind. And that's my final thought.
So, Mr. O, I'm gonna go ahead and take your black hat and I'm gonna replace it with my Virginia Tech hat. So let me go ahead and put this on real quick. So, first of all, go Hokies. I'm gonna bring everything together what I heard on this show today. That's been pounded on my chest. Black folks, you got to talk about politics. And it's not only just us. It's crazy when I'm with my girlfriend's friends and my friends, and we talk about politics, and people get afraid to say their views, to say how they feel. They would tell you like in doses, but then they just switch the subject. Don't be afraid to talk about politics. Y'all can sit there and say that the government's corrupt or the politicians corrupt, but what are you doing about it? Do you actually understand how politics go? I'm already going to tell you, I don't know the ins and outs of politics, but I do know on the surface how it works and what is going on. And if you don't know nothing about it, that should intrigue you much more to do your own research. You should always be involved in politics. You should always know what's going on in your community. If you're sick and tired of what's going on in your community, it's time for you to get involved. Maybe it's time for you to be an activist. Maybe it's time for you to run. That is the biggest downfall, mainly for us, that I see, is that we're not that involved in politics, or at least understand how politics work. We sit there complaining about, we pay high taxes, or there's so many police in our freaking neighborhood. There's no black businesses in a black community. What is going on? But when you say something about Republican or Democrat Party, that's all they know. That's all they know. Rather than who's running the city council, who are the members, what type of proposal is up for in the ballot box? How do I get with these activists to get my point across? When do I know when city hall meetings are happening? No longer do y'all need to be sitting on the freaking corner drinking malt liquor or just playing spades or playing freaking dominoes and just going back and forth with like, man, America's in the toilet and, this is what's going on and all that stuff. Well, you really don't know shit. Start doing your research. Start watching the news. I know people sitting there say, you got to turn up the media and all that stuff. But sometimes you got to see what the hell's going on, even if it's being reported wrong, which actually help you to intrigue your mind a little bit more for you to do your own research if you know what they're reporting is bullshit. Get involved. Get involved, or at least know what is going on.
So my final thought for this evening has to do with freedom. Freedom is the condition that you are born into. All human beings are born into this condition called freedom. And the only restrictions are that you must not injure or kill anyone. You must not steal or damage things that belong to other people. And you must be honest in your dealings. Those are the only restrictions on your freedom under what's called natural law. Now, slavery is the opposite of freedom. Slavery is when someone is under the dominion of another person contrary to nature. It is not natural for a Black person, someone from Africa, to work for a white man. It is not natural for Black people to have white bosses. The reason why that is a reality for most of us is not because of anything natural, it's because of things that are unnatural. And they have convinced us that this thing that they call law and order, which are nothing more than opinions and decisions that white people have created, they have convinced us that that is what governs our reality and not natural law. And we have been indoctrinated to think that we must submit to law and order, when in reality, the only law that you have to submit to is natural law, which says that you have to what? You have to eat, you have to drink, you have earthly needs. This whole other law and order that they're trying to impose on us is unnatural. And we have to internalize what freedom really means. And we have to rid ourselves of our subservience and obedience to what they call law and order. It's my final thought.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning into the show. Friday, I don't know if I'm gonna be live, so I'm gonna give y'all a heads up if I will be able to come on. But once again, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. If I never said that, well, I do say it, but I really do appreciate everybody for being on the show and tuning in. Sipwe, it's great to have you back. You did say you're gonna come back on Wednesday. You showed up. Once again, I want to send out the apology. I'm sorry I got spying eyes at my job and thinking that I don't go to work on time or leaving early. But other than that,
Look, I'm gonna tell you what they told me, man. If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing nothing right.
And that's true. But on behalf of myself down there, Alamonte Morris, Sipwe, Mr. O, and Beach Johnson, this has been another edition of hashtag Fade to Black. And also, I'm making this promise to Mr. O right here and now. Every time I see your post, I'm gonna put I'm here.
You are welcome to my page. It's a hot page. The themes are very diverse. But when someone attacks you, I will not intervene. I want you to hit back because you are not a weak person. So you got me. So I will not censor it, but I know the person will deserve the hit back. That is.
I appreciate, and Mr. And see, and that's one of the things that I appreciate you. You do be like, well, oh, hey, now let me explain. You do explain. I give you that, and this is why. Beach Johnson, you need to start working on get this man a show, okay? Web Network. We need to get some content. We need to get some content, which I'm gonna talk to you about on Thursday. But other than that, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you so very, very much. Sipwe, once again, your heart and blessing, my heart and blessing goes out to yours and your family.
Thank you.
Any new updates, please let us know. I love pissing off everybody on my Facebook status when they hear great things about your family. So I'm keeping up the good work. But other than that, catch y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.